Hey, what's going on, everybody? Boilon here, and back for another video on Lord of the Rings Home. Now, today, or well, actually, over the last couple of days, I think we have actually had the release of Sensor Tower's official financial data for the month of July. Now, I know we're into August, but we're going to be taking a look at how Lord of the Rings Home is doing now, or at least how it did do in July, as compared to June. I did a video roughly about a month ago when we were taking a look at some of the data from the June reports from Sensor Tower, and I want to see how that kind of stacks up with how things are doing now and whether or not things are improving in the game writ large. Are people spending as they were a couple of months ago? What's their spending habits like now? And also, I'm really interested from you, the viewers, as well. You know, if you've been playing from global launch or thereabouts, you know, what have changed with you? Did you spend early on? Are you spending less now? Are you not spending now? Let me know all of that in the comments down below. So if you're ready to go, everybody, let's boil this down. Now, I had this video here. This was a month ago. Crazy low global launch revenue, shocking data on Lord of the Rings. Now, one thing that I want to point out, though, here is just a couple of things. So this was from June. Well, this is June's revenue data from the iOS store. And we're just kind of going to skip ahead, because for those of you who maybe didn't watch that video, I kind of want to show the part where... So Lord of the Rings here made about $800,000 from the Apple store during the month of June, and I'm trying to get the figures. This is the 700K from the Android store. So collectively, there was about $1.5 million, I guess, made by CG, Lord of the Rings as the title. And this was compared to, I guess, you know, what's always interesting is comparing it to Star Wars Galaxy Heroes. I believe this was, is this I think this is the Android version of 3 million plus. Usually it's about 4 million or so for Star Wars. I think if I back it up a little bit, that you can find that here, 4 million. So 7 million roughly. Now I don't really play, so I don't play Star Wars. So for those of you who do, I don't know if they have a web store, you know, because Marvel Strike Force has a web store where, you know, I would say at least a third of the spending probably is done there. You know, some people might debate a little bit more than that. So I don't know if Star Wars has a version of that. So I don't know if that 7 million that Star Wars made, if it's actually a little bit higher, because there's other ways that you can spend money outside of the app stores. But there you are. So 7 million for Star Wars for June, 1.5 million for Lord of the Rings for June, just as a bit of a recap. So now we're going to be taking a look at, we're going to start with the Apple, obviously. We'll take a look at both Star Wars anyways. I mean, Star Wars is pretty... it's plateaued, but it's not really going down a lot, which is, you know, again, I don't play the game. Maybe people came back to it because I heard a lot of good things about this. I think they call it the Crate Dragon Raid. Some people are saying that's better, and why we didn't get that version of it in Lord of the Rings, I don't know. It seems like there's completely different teams kind of working on both like the people who work on Lord of the Rings is not necessarily the people who work on Star Wars, because there's a lot of stuff that you would have thought that they would have known about or that they would have been able to approve upon. That's just not happening here in Lord of the Rings. So you can see on the right hand side here and the download figures. We can scroll down a bit to get to Lord of the Rings, which is also at 100,000 downloads for iOS and $500,000 made for that month, which is pretty low in my opinion. I mean, it's getting worse. Now, I don't know why it shows The Simpsons. Is that actually The Simpsons? Doesn't look like The Simpsons. Anyways, 500,000 is lower than it has been before. Remember, we were at 1.5 million. That's what we were talking about before. And this is the Android version of the web store, the App Store, sorry. And 3 million for Star Wars. So what was it? 7 million still. It looks like they're kind of just still puttering along. And Lord of the Rings is at 500,000. So 500,000 on both app stores. That brings us to a total of 1 million. So 1, or at least not 1.1. It's not high enough to get to 1.1. So we're about a third revenue decline in 1 month. That's going from 1.5 million to 1 million in the span of a month. Now, obviously, we're just getting into the period of time where Mines of Moria is released and being released. As you guys know, if you had caught my previous video, that Chapter 2 is maybe like 10 days away at this point. And so honestly, like I've been really trying to hold it in there, because I thought, I don't know how much that the raids are going to be influencing the population growth of the player base. And I think that's the really important thing here. That I haven't been really seeing a lot of advertisement for the game, and also I don't know what their plan is to try and bring players back into the game. The issue is obviously you need players who are then going to spend. There's a whole reasons why you need spenders, obviously, to keep the game and the lights on. But you know, if that doesn't improve month on month for a little while, anyways, like I admit that, you know, games like Star Wars, you know, they're probably plateauing. That's just like what you're going to get monthly because there's a lot of loyal fans to play the game and spend on the game, just like Marvel Strike Force. But Lord of the Rings, I don't know if it has that right now. And it's not enough, or people are leaving, or both, all of it, all of the above, right? So we've gone from 1.5 million to 1 million, and that's not good. The question is when we take a look at August revenue in about 4 weeks' time, are we going to see any change? Are we going to see this go up? Because if it continues to slide, then I don't think that the raids in Mines of Moria is actually doing what they were hoping it would do. And I gotta say, you know, and I want to just go back to the game right now. The game is still pretty bare bones. We're talking almost 3 months into global launch or thereabouts, and what we have to show for it is Chapter 1 and maybe Chapter 2 by the time, you know, I make this next video in 4 weeks about the revenue. And but we're not really seeing a huge increase in player numbers. In fact, I think players are leaving the game. I think the players are actively leaving because of all the delays, the bugs, the problems that have been coming, and the way that the perceived treatment of the player base. That especially in the resolution of said bugs regarding the raid, Mines of Moria raid Chapter 1, I don't think it really pleased enough people to keep them to stay playing the game, because a lot of people were disappointed with the way that it was handled. There were some other bugs related to Sam's Gardener's Journey, which I'm not really going to get into much here, but some people were able to get a very high star level Sam that they closed down. They closed down this way of doing so. And all sorts of other things. You know, whether it's the resource crunching of the game, obviously is still there. People are just not enjoying it as much. And I still do, but whether or not I continue covering this game as a content creator will probably depend on where the trajectory of the player base goes. Because obviously at some stage that this may not be worth it for me to cover if the player base continues its decline. Now, say what you want about content creators influencing, you know, the player base decline or not, or therefore, you know, if I'm 100% positive in every single video, that's not going to suddenly, you know, get the player base going again. That's not going to do anything, you know. So it's Capital Games and Lord of the Rings that needs to kind of do that legwork to make the players happy, to make the players want to play the game, and also do the proper marketing and advertising to bring players into the game, right? Like, I haven't seen a lot of that. So the game's in a bit of a weird state right now, and I think all of you who have been playing for a little while can hopefully agree on that. That I just don't know where that they're headed exactly. I don't know what their end game plan is here. I don't know if this is just if this is a cash grab for them to, you know, cash out in like in 6 to 9 months time. But obviously, if the revenue is in decline further, if the player base doesn't improve dramatically, then I don't see the long-term future of the game, and that's a little bit of disappointment because, you know, I did want it, believe it or not, despite what other people say. Like, I did want this game to be successful. I don't think it's quite there yet. It doesn't mean it can't be there, but obviously it has a huge mountain to climb because there's just not a lot of people playing, and that's the biggest problem. Is that we need a growing explosion of player growth. That's what we need right now, and we need to get there. Not people quitting, and not people quitting over all the bugs that are coming into the game that aren't being addressed properly. But that's just my thoughts for Saturday here. Hopefully I'll be getting out a guide video, like an ultimate guide video for Mines of Moria Chapter 1 for Sunday. And that you guys can start preparing for week 2 of Mines of Moria Chapter 1. But otherwise, let me know in the comments down below how you're feeling. Especially with this new news that, is this surprising? Do you find any of this surprising that the game has lost about a third of its revenue in a month? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. And until next time, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.